It started harmless enough. Like most things you never think will turn dark. I just moved into a modest apartment on the edge of a small town, trying to start fresh after years of stale city life. The complex was older, brick walls lined with ivy, neighbors friendly in that distant wave and nod way. I was hopeful. The first real connection I made was with Jess. She was a bit older, probably late 20s, always with a messy bun, oversized cardigans, and carrying thrifted books. We met at the local bookstore. She complimented the poetry collection I was holding, then somehow we ended up having coffee across the street. I was starved for new friendships, so I eagerly accepted. It was nice at first. Jess introduced me to her circle. Lucas, a lean guy with nervous eyes and a laugh that always seemed slightly forced, and Tara, a striking woman with long, dark hair who seemed to love sharing secrets just a little too much. They invited me out again and again. Movie nights at Jess's apartment, late night walks to get ice cream, group trips to flea markets. It felt good to belong somewhere. Still, there were little things that didn't sit right. Like the time Tara jokingly asked if I'd ever been inside an abandoned building. When I said no, she just smiled too widely and squeezed my hand. Or how Lucas would sometimes just stare at me, eyes unfocused, then snap out of it if I said his name. One evening, I got a text from Jess. "Hey, we're planning something fun tonight. A surprise. Come by at 9. Promise you'll love it." Alone in my apartment, I actually hesitated. There was a weird pressure building with them lately. Small inside jokes I wasn't a part of. Glances exchanged that seemed to carry more weight than simple looks should. But I pushed it away. I wanted to be included. I needed friends. So I texted back, "Of course. See you then." At 9 sharp, I knocked on Jess's door. The apartment was dark except for candles scattered everywhere, wax dripping down mismatched holders. They greeted me with big smiles and hugs, told me to sit down. A bottle of cheap red wine was passed around. Jess pulled out a deck of cards and said we were going to play something special. I laughed it off. But as the night crept on, the laughter around me sounded different. Strained, almost rehearsed. That was when I first felt it in my gut. A low, gnawing unease that I couldn't quite name. The sexual game, the special turned out to be something Jess called whispers. It sounded innocent enough. One person closed their eyes while the others whispered secrets or confessions into their ear. The blindfolded person would have to guess who said what. I didn't want to ruin the mood, so when it was my turn, I laughed nervously and let them tie a soft scarf around my eyes. The darkness felt complete. Immediately, I was hyper-aware of every breath around me. I smelled candle smoke, cheap wine, something sweet like vanilla lotion. Then I felt lips close to my ear. "You're exactly the type we've been waiting for," a voice whispered. It was low, almost a growl. My stomach twisted. Another warm breath. "You trust too easily. That's good." I jerked away, ripping off the blindfold. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might faint. Jess, Lucas, and Tara were all sitting there, grinning. Jess clapped her hands. "Wow, jumpy much? That was just part of the game." Lucas was trying to be creepy on purpose. Lucas gave me a half-hearted shrug, eyes darting away. Tara reached out, brushing my arm. "Come on, don't be such a baby. It's fun to get scared sometimes." I tried to calm down, telling myself I was being paranoid. Maybe they were just pushing my buttons. I forced a smile, even took another sip of wine to steady my nerves. Later that night, when I finally left Jess's apartment, the hallways seemed darker than usual. I almost ran to my door, hands shaking as I unlocked it. Inside, I leaned against the wall, heart still racing. That should have been the end of it. I should have pulled back. But the next morning, I woke up to a stream of sweet texts from them. "Hope we didn't freak you out too bad. We just like getting a little spooky, you know us. Miss your pretty face already. You're coming Friday, right? Sorry if I took it too far. You're really cool. Hope we're still good." I sighed, hugging my pillow. They seemed so eager, so caring, like maybe I just misunderstood. I convinced myself I was lucky to have found people who wanted me around so badly. Friday rolled around quicker than I expected. Jess planned another get-together, this time at Tara's place. A bigger group, she promised. More friends for me to meet. I stood in front of my bathroom mirror, trying on different tops. As I did, a weird thought crept in. If these were truly my friends, why was I trying so hard not to disappoint them? Still, loneliness is a powerful drug. So I put on my favorite earrings, texted them I was on my way, and stepped back into their waiting arms, without realizing just how deep I was already in. Tara's apartment was different from Jess's cozy chaos. It was spotlessly so, sleek furniture, pale walls, no clutter. Candles again, but this time they were arranged in careful circles on the floor, like someone had measured the distances. "Do you like it?" Tara asked, slipping an arm around my shoulders. Her nails were painted a deep wine red that matched her lipstick. "It's sort of my special space." I forced a smile. "Yeah, it's beautiful. Very neat." She laughed, low and close to my ear. "You're sweet." More people arrived. Strangers. Quiet, watchful, always smiling just a bit too long. They introduced themselves with dreamy voices. Nina, who kept touching my hair like she was testing the texture. Ethan, who stared so intently it made my skin crawl. I was surrounded, pulled into conversations I barely followed, laughter echoing too loudly off the bare walls. At some point, Jess grabbed my hand. "Come, I want to show you something upstairs." She led me to Tara's bedroom. It was dimly lit by a single lamp. On the bed were photo albums, old leather-bound ones that looked like they belonged in an antique shop. Jess sat me down. "These are our memories. We thought maybe it's time you felt more like part of us." She opened one to a page filled with candid shots, people at bonfires draped over each other, laughing with glasses raised. I didn't recognize anyone, until I did. There, half hidden on the edge of a group shot, was Lucas. He looked younger, same nervous eyes, but a sharper smile. Next to him, unmistakable despite a different haircut, was Tara. "That's you guys," I said, voice dry. "When was this?" "Oh, years ago." Jess waved a hand. "We've all been close for a long time." Something about the photo was wrong. The people surrounding them, their faces seemed off, blurred in places, smiles a little too wide. I flipped to another page. More gatherings, different locations. The same core people kept appearing. Jess, Tara, Lucas. Always with new faces around them, faces that never repeated. Jess closed the album gently. Her hand stayed over mine. "We just wanted you to know how special it is to be chosen." "Chosen for what?" I tried to joke, but it cracked halfway out. She leaned close, eyes soft and shining, to finally stop being lonely. Downstairs, I could hear the others calling for us, voices rising in a playful chant. "Come back down! Come back down!" Jess smiled. "They're waiting. We should go." I followed because what else was I going to do? But as we walked out, I looked back at that album still open on the bed, and for just a second, I swear one of those blurred faces seemed to be staring right back at me. When we returned downstairs, the lights were dimmed even lower. Everyone was gathered on the floor, legs crossed around the biggest circle of candles yet. Jess guided me to sit right between her and Tara. Lucas was directly across from me, his eyes glassy with something I couldn't read. Devotion, maybe, or simple resignation. Tara leaned forward, dark hair spilling over her shoulder. "We're going to do something important tonight, a little ritual. It's really just about trust." Jess squeezed my hand. "Don't worry, it's harmless. It's about welcoming you in, making sure you're really ours." My throat felt tight. I tried to laugh. "You guys are scaring me. Seriously." Lucas finally spoke, voice low. "You're not scared. You're just not used to feeling so needed, so chosen." A small brass bowl was passed around. In it were scraps of paper. Jess explained, "We write down our old pains, things we want to give up, then we burn them together. It seals us." I almost laughed in relief. Just some new age bonding. I could handle that. I scribbled something stupidly simple, loneliness, and folded it tight. When it was my turn, I dropped it into the bowl. Tara struck a match, the flame flaring close to my fingers before she let it tumble in. We all watched the papers catch, curling into black filigree. That should have been it. But then Tara produced a tiny silver blade. She sliced her palm with practiced ease, blood welling dark and quick. Without hesitation, Jess and Lucas did the same, pressing their cuts together. I pulled back. "Whoa, wait, I can't." "It's symbolic," Tara soothed. "A drop, just to show you trust us." She held out the blade to me. Her eyes were soft, mouth in that same too sweet smile. "Please," Jess whispered. "We want you with us. Not just for tonight, for everything." I stared at the blade. My heart was thundering, my mouth dry. Part of me wanted to run, but another part, a desperate aching part, didn't want to lose them. I wanted so badly to belong somewhere, to stop drifting. Hands were on my shoulders now. Tara's voice was in my ear. Just a little cut, love. Then it's done. We'll be yours, and you'll be ours. Forever. I don't know why I did it. Maybe it was the wine, the pressure, or the warmth of all their bodies so close. Maybe it was the deep, ugly fear of being alone again. I took the knife, pressed it against my palm, and drew the shallowest line I could manage. It still hurt like hell. Cheers rose around me. Jess pressed her cut to mine, blood smearing together. Tara kissed my cheek. Tempra stared. Lucas sighed like he'd been holding his breath for hours. You did it, Jess whispered. Now we're bound. Bound. The word lodged in my chest like a splinter. I tried to smile, even as something inside me quietly began to unravel. The days after the ritual felt strangely hollow. Jess texted constantly, sending little hearts, inside jokes, pictures of the group lounging together. It should have comforted me, but every ping of my phone made my chest tighten. I started noticing things. Tara showing up outside my building without texting first, just leaning against her car like she'd been waiting. Lucas popping by my work with coffee, he didn't even stay to hand off, just left it with the front desk, a note that read, "Stay hours." Then there were the dreams. Dark hallways, laughter that spun around me like a fog, whispers of my name. I'd wake drenched in sweat, clawing at my sheets. One afternoon, I decided to confront Jess. I found her on a bench outside the bookstore where we first met, reading that same battered poetry collection. You've all been different since that night, I blurted. Or maybe I've been different. Either way, it's freaking me out. Jess didn't look surprised. She set her book down and took my hands. It's only scary because you've never had something this real. Most people drift through life completely alone. We gave you a family. That's a gift. But what does bound mean? Really? My voice cracked. Why do I feel like I can't breathe without you all checking in on me? Jess squeezed my hands tighter. Her nails dug into my skin. It means we watch out for each other. Always. It means you're safe. Don't you see how beautiful that is? I pulled away. Is that what happened to the others? The ones in those old photos? Jess's eyes darkened. For the first time since I met her, her smile vanished. They left us. They broke the bond. And when you break something that's sacred, it breaks you back. I stared at her, my pulse a wild thing in my throat. What did you do to them? She tilted her head. It's not about what we did. It's what the world did. Alone, they faded, disappeared. Some literally ran off, or maybe they couldn't handle the emptiness. It's sad. We're trying to keep that from happening to you. I stood up so fast I nearly stumbled. I need some space. Jess rose too, her expression smoothing back into that gentle mask. Take all the time you need. We'll be here, watching out for you, always. That night, I locked every window and door, heart jackhammering at every shadow. I knew then. I wasn't just afraid of being alone anymore. I was terrified, because I might never be alone again. I spent the next week jumpy and half sick, constantly looking over my shoulder. Jess, Tara, and Lucas didn't bombard me with visits, but I felt them everywhere. Little signs, a wilted rose on my doorstep, a chalk drawing on the sidewalk under my window, a crude heart with my initials inside, texts at 3 a.m. that just said, still here, always. I tried telling myself I was being paranoid, but every time my phone buzzed or a floorboard creaked in my old apartment, adrenaline surged through me. Finally, I snapped. I packed a bag, locked up, and drove 2 hours to stay with my cousin Mia. I didn't tell Jess or the others where I was going. I didn't answer their calls. Mia didn't know the whole story, just that I needed space from some people who had gotten too intense. She let me crash on her couch, no questions asked. For the first time in months, I slept through the night without nightmares. A few days later, though, Mia came into the living room with a strange look. Some woman was parked across the street earlier. She didn't get out, just sat there watching the house. My blood ran cold. What did she look like? Dark hair, really pale, kind of fancy coat. Tara. That night, Mia insisted we call the police. I was embarrassed. What was I gonna say? That my new friends were too affectionate? That they were watching me? But Mia was firm. If they're following you across state lines, it's not normal. It's stalking. 2 patrol cars showed up, lights flashing in the dark. They took statements. Ran plates. Turns out Tara's car had already been flagged in another case. Not criminal, but enough that they promised to keep an eye out. A temporary restraining order followed within days. When Jess texted me after that, it was different. Why would you do this to us? After everything, we only ever wanted to keep you safe. Then, silence. Months passed. Slowly, the knots in my stomach loosened. Therapy helped me understand how people like that prey on loneliness, how they use twisted affection as a leash. I changed my number, moved again, this time closer to Mia. Sometimes I still catch glimpses of dark hair in a crowd, or think I hear Lucas's laugh. My heart stutters, but then nothing. Just normal people living normal lives. I've made real friends now, the kind who ask how I'm doing because they care, not because they need to own me. On rainy nights, when the old fear creeps in, I remind myself, I chose to leave. I chose to live. And that's what I keep doing, every single day.